Alright, hello everyone. Welcome back to my channel. So today we want to talk about the newest and the latest tier list, which I have been promised to produce and release for a long time now. The last time I put out was probably back in April or March. It's been a while, so the list has of course ballooned due to the amount of character being added. And yeah, there's some pretty good updates in recent months that it's probably worth talking about, since there's also a few bug fixes that help the other characters too. But yes, we are at the beach event, which is ending today. Hopefully I can convince some of you to pull for summer Annie's, and yeah, she's pretty good, to be honest. And actually, in fact, a lot of the summer characters are actually pretty good too. And of course, the summer event song is great. Overall, there's no complaints on the summer event, at least on my end. All right. Anyway, so let's without further ado, let's get going. So today, first of all, we want to talk about is tier 1 tier list. And what we're gonna have is, let's take a look. Okay, you have leader and Dorothy on the very first top, which of course is kind of expected. Leader is still your queen of general buffs. There's no one can beat her at the moment, so she may not be as powerful as Dorothy on a boss fight, but for general usage, like if you have anything other than just pure boss fight, leader might still be better. Okay. And both in terms of cooldown reduction, both Dorothy and leader has cooldown reduction. So you want to, in my opinion, you want to slot at least one character that has cooldown reduction on your team for any team I put together, for solo raids or just any team in general. And the character that has cooldown reaction is let's see, Dorothy, leader, Sakura, helm, the summer helm, not normal helm, summer helm only, and Dola. All of them should be, you should at least choose one of them in your team so that you can reduce the amount of downtime your burst does. Okay, with that being said, we are looking at the tier number 2, which is, what is it, Rapunzel, Noise, and Pepper. Rapunzel is, of course, the best healer out there. I wouldn't say the best, but probably one of the most forgiving healer out there, because she heals without being going to burst mode, so she can heal during low of the fight. And she also has revival, so I think besides her and Christmas Annie, no one else has revival. So if you screwed up where the boss bursts you down, bursts your team down, she's one of the few characters that can bring your team member back up. So there's Rapunzel, Noise, of course. Noise is getting a little bit, slightly getting phased out. She used to be like, besides leader and Dorothy, she's definitely the top. I think Rapunzel has taken over a little bit lately because due to the changes to her kid by the dev, you now have to kind of manual control her to make sure she survives a little bit longer due to the 1.6 second cooldown on her self HP refresh, aka healing. Okay, next is Pepper. Pepper's still pretty good in terms of the whole kit she offers. The only issue with Pepper is, of course, she's a shotgun, so she doesn't really do that much damage on the first enemy. But at the same time, she's a shotgun, so she's a healer, so you don't really expect that much damage from her anyway. One main issue with Pepper is Pepper needs to be manually controlled. If you do not manually control her, her amount of healing greatly decrease. What I mean by manual control is you want to force her to shoot her last bullet consistently without reloading. She's best played manually when you force her to use her last shot always, because that's where her healing comes in. Summer Mary is also pretty good. She heals quite a bit. However, the issue with Summer Mary is the fact that her healing is locked behind burst mode. So if you put her on arena or anything else, her healing might comes to late. I ran into that issue lately. I tried to put her on arena teams. It did not work out, okay? It's not working out, so I need to figure out something else. Miranda's pretty good in terms of general buffs provided. You have Jacko, which is really only useful on some arenas, PvP in general, and some very niche boss fights. But due to the fact that she can share damage reduction and damage reduction, there's still some use for her. Volume is getting a little bit moving up slowly as she's crit buff, but as more and more attack boost provided by the other teammates, crit damage increase and crit rate buffs are getting a little bit better and better, because it's just another multiplier in the equation that's less important than attack buffs, but at the same time, when you stack so many attack buffs on the same team, the crit boosts become a little bit more important too. Okay. And then we have Emma, Sakura, Lamilla, Mary, and those people at rank B. I would say you can see those are a lot of them are the older ones. I kind of wish they could have buff Ray a little bit higher as one of the free 5 stars, so she is just a better deal for everyone that is playing free to play. But as of right now, Ray's ranking really isn't that high. Exia has some improvement, got a little bit better. Same goes to Lamilla and Frema, especially Frema's bug got fixed, so she's a little bit better than she used to be. But however, that is still not enough to boost her up to the higher level. Emma is good in terms of just slowly trickle healing. She's also pretty decent, pretty good at PvP if you pair her up with Jacko, because she heals your team per hit. And she's also better than Pepper when you auto it, because Pepper has a really hard time healing you when you place her as auto character. Okay. All right. With that being said, let's take a look at image number 2. Let's take a look at go to other locations so that we don't have that much noise from Neon, right? Okay, so here we go. This is tier 2. You have sorry about the sound cutting in and out. It's getting a little bit it's just the way that Nikke has been doing. I don't know why they decide to do this, but if you just leave off a screen, click somewhere else, it does not want to play ball in a sense. Okay, this one, Blanc and Senti, they are pretty much tied and goes up and down in a lot of different tier list locations. Those are stories. I think there's a ghost story for the newest quest that showed up last day. You have Blanc, which is a really good general buffer. In fact, she's a little bit better than Senti in a lot of regard, because she can also provide shield and stuff, and she also has better other stuff in general, right? The issue with Blanc is that Blanc is pretty much tied to Nier. If you want her to have a 20-second cooldown, which is necessary for a lot of her kids. Well, I won't say necessary, which does a good thing for her kids. But Nier has a relatively more limited roles in terms of team building, which may have dragged down Blanc's importance or Blanc's rating in some of the tier charts. Okay, but by the way, this is a consolidated tier list that is looking over Japan, Chinese, and American tier list overall, and you get a general sense of things. Guilty is up there. I'm not sure she's supposed to be up that high, to be honest with you guys, because both her, I think Shotgun is a little bit iffy at times for general attacks, but in contents that allows shotgun usage, Guilty is definitely up there. Same goes to Rupee. Rupee is a really good damage dealer for a slot too. Granted, she is kind of fading off due to the fact that she's only a damage dealer for herself, and the team building lately it's been leaning more toward like bust for everyone. Okay, and the next thing we want to talk about is everyone else, pretty much. Dola is still really good if you do not have leader. She is very useful for the burst reduction. She provides some buffs to attack, which is nice. Noel has the invincible, which is a lot of things. Something that I don't think any other Nikke has that yet. A team-wide invincibility, right? So it will be very useful in some boss fights. And you have Biscuit that basically keeps and lock your teammates' health. And Christmas End, most people use her for the fact that she can provide a huge burst of attack from time to time, and she revive specific characters from time to time, and a little bit of healing. So that's why people use her. Polly is actually pretty good too. Once you level her up, the occasional shield comes out, and the team burst is actually pretty good. Summer swimming suit helped. It is okay. You can think of her as a slightly nerfed Blanc without the healing, but she's also not locked with Nor. So in some cases, you might want to use her because the summer helm also has burst cooldown reductions. Okay. And the next one would be Makima, which is, of course, you really can't get any more Chainsaw Man collabs. Good luck with that. She's extremely useful for PvP. But other than that, she's kind of limited. Ami is a good buffer. A little bit you can think of her as a private without any native. But in terms of bullet count and the bullet buffs, Viper situation, no. Quincy situation, no. Must is good if you want to pair her up with Scarlet. There's some potential there, but most people doesn't do that. Malister, same thing. Damage based, not very widely used. Here's something that I want to talk about. Novel. Novel is a weird case. Some tier lists rate her extremely high due to the fact that her potential when you invest in her. She's definitely one of the later boomers. She can provide a lot of team heals. Not team heals. I'm sorry, damage buffs, because she reduces the enemy attack. She reduces the enemy defense. So which in case increase your team's output. She does that by a big shot. One of the best damage increaser, I would say. I wouldn't say buffer because she technically doesn't buff your team. She makes the other team worse. But she's very useful. And because of that, she's really high up on some tier, but she's also some other tier doesn't really look like as usefulness, has her tier all the way down because that's where her bread and butters are. And the next thing would be Narrow. Narrow is kind of a disappointment as one of the more recent limited releases. Her kit is alright, but nothing outstanding, to be honest. She is a very good healer protector in a sense. That if you have a healer that heals a whole white team, if you want to make sure they don't ever die, Narrow. Okay? And here we go. The next one, B3. This is our burst 3. You can see the newest character added to tier 3 is Nor. There's a few times that Alice made it to SS tier as well. But yeah, now it's pretty much cemented. Alice, when fully invested, deals a crap ton of damage. Okay, possibly more than Scarlet and Modernia. According to other people, I have not seen that. I think it's maybe because my Modernia has really good rolls on her, while my Alice's damage, my Alice's kit is not that great. Even though I already got everything to highest. But regardless, Alice, Scarlet, and Modernia all has pretty good, not pretty good, one of the top damage dealer out there. Okay, Nor, same thing. Especially Nor is good at is she can buff your team's bullet count by a lot. So she's actually pretty useful for, say, Scarlet as well, and the other teams that you want to have more bullets. She does not even have to be burst 3. She just have to exist on your team because her skill applied during burst 3, but she doesn't have to be burst 3, okay? But at the same time, her shotgun type kind of significantly nerfs her or limit her to her usefulness in terms of a boss fight, because some boss fight shotgun is just a really bad idea, right? Like some content is shotgun's not that great. Okay, next one you have Summer Anise and Privity, Maxwell, and Snow White. These 4 are pretty much equal, and they go up and down on the tier list, depends on which version you're looking at. Maxwell is actually a really good buffer in general, and also a pretty good single target and group target dealer. Snow White is really good in terms of single target damage, but she gets outshined by Alice once you have Alice's gear completely top off with plus ammo buffs. Summer Anise is pretty good as well, but she's more focused on being a elemental buffer. She's good in general, but she's more excelling elemental buffer, so which knocks down her a little bit in terms of usefulness, because you have to team her up with the electric type. Okay, and then you have Drake, the plus Helm. Helm is okay. The normal Helm version is really good as a healer for burst 3. Sometimes you just cannot find the way to slot a healer on the burst 1 and 2 because you need them for other purposes. Helm 3 is good for that, and normal Helm, I mean. And you have the plus. The plus is a good general overall character, but she is not that great when you consider the fact that some bosses only has 1 weak point. She's great when the bosses has 3 or 2 weak points all next to each other because her big range. But she is like about 60% of her maximum damage when she can only hit 1 target. Okay. Her run fall quite a bit because her usefulness gets outshined by a lot of different Nikkes in this game afterwards. Sugar is still good for shotgun teams, but due to the introduction of Nier, her usefulness for shotgun team got decreased by a bit, to be completely honest. Power is good, but power in a lot of cases, if you can use power, you might as well use the plus. Power is like a little bit lesser version of the plus besides the ult, which is a one shot. And we have D, you have Guillotine. Guillotine got buffed a little bit, so she's actually now up. She used to be really low because she has a chance of killing her own team, but now she's got a lot better now. So if you love tuning characters, there we go. Ebenel, Yuha, Vesti stays about the same. One of the biggest regret is Neon for the summer event. Neon's, I think they really screw up her kit quite a bit. It got to a point that most people does not recommend her to have to slot her in a use burst that is. She's best if she does not use her burst, which is ironic, right? And these are before buffs. After buff, it's arguably her buff does a little bit more, her burst, but still not that great. So if you have a team of 3 burst 3s, don't use her burst, period. Really. It's not worth it. But her buff 1 and 2 is pretty good for the same type. It's limited though. Maiden is also really good for PvP. She's also good for certain boss fight. Other than that though, she's not that great. Singles to Isabel, situational characters. Like I think most of the burst 3 B tier and less are all, they have their niches, but they are not useful in enough content to make it to anything above A tier. Alright. With that being said, I believe that is it for our guild, for our tier list, and I'm gonna publish it as soon as I finish editing the video. Let's take a look. We still have maybe a day left for Annie's banner. If you do not have her, I would strongly recommend you to pull her. I had a feeling that the game is gonna focus on elemental based more and more, so it's probably a good idea to have her on your team in general. All right, with that being said, thanks for watching, and I'm gonna go back to editing videos now. Wish everyone have a good luck on pulling. Goodbye. Oh wait. Oh, Scarlet. All right, nice.